We are back. So again, welcome to the secret to sustainable weight loss. If you're here with me live, a couple of housekeeping things. Any questions during the workshop, please pop those in the chat box and I will stop at certain points to answer those. If you are watching the replay, and the replay will be sent out to you tomorrow, as long as technology is on my side, then what I will do is you'll all get an email with the replay. If you're watching the replay right now and you have questions, you can send those to Jennifer, hello@jenniferhanway.com. Because I know it's always hard if you're watching a replay of something. The replay will be available within 24 hours and you'll get a link as soon as it is ready, as long as the internet is behaving. So if you've met me before, you know me. If you haven't, just a few details about myself. I'm a board certified holistic nutritionist, wellness expert, level 2 biosignature modulation practitioner, and certified personal trainer. Basically, that means that I work a little bit more beyond just the food. So I work with hormonal health, adrenal health, thyroid health, gut health. I do a lot of work in the perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause space. I've been very lucky to have some super fun jobs in my life. I used to work at Sala's Bikini Boot Camp. So if you ever saw Demi Moore running across the beach in a black bikini, that was our bikini boot camp. I was one of the master trainers at Barcore, that was London's first bar studio, and I worked as the head nutritionist in Switzerland for Peak Health Retreat. So I've had some really fun things to do. I work with clients that include the British royal family, some Hollywood A-list, some Olympic athletes. I can't name names. And then I work with Dr. Julie Rusak as part of our regenerative aging program at Rusak Dermatology in New York. I also do a lot of wellness speaking and wellness writing in person and online, lots of podcasts. And I do a lot of work with O Magazine, Well and Good, Mind Body Green, all of those fun things. And I've been a member of New Beauty Magazine's Brain Trust for the last probably 4 years coming up now. And over the last 19 years, I've been in the industry. I've worked with hundreds of women, mostly 35 plus, to help them lose weight, keep it off, improve their metabolic markers, reduce their risk of chronic disease, and help them feel confident in their body. And that's just some of the fun stuff that I have done. But I always want to be very real with you. And just so you know that I didn't come out of the womb doing yoga and drinking kale smoothies. That is not me. I am not one of these. In my head, I call them Pilates girlies that basically look like models and have models' bodies. That is not me. I have to work for my health. So I was an unhealthy weight from my teens through my 20s. I had gut health and digestive issues from my childhood through to my early 30s, to the point where I was actually hospitalized on a morphine drip. My gut health was so bad. I did struggle with some depression and anxiety from my teens through to my early 30s. Anxiety will always be part of my life. I'll always be very open about that. I've lost my period due to stress and thyroid issues. And what I like to say now is that I'm vibrant and energized, living in a body with thriving metabolic and hormonal markers. And I've stayed the same weight within about a pound for the last 9 years. And I always share the part of my journey about gut health, but I never really share the part of my journey about metabolic health. Now, I want to be absolutely open with you. I've never been in a situation where I've had to lose 30 pounds, 40 pounds, but I have been metabolically unhealthy. And being metabolically unhealthy doesn't necessarily mean that you have a big amount of weight to lose. So you can see in that first picture, that was back in the days when I used to teach Zumba. Tell you, I've been in this industry for a while. And I was metabolically unhealthy. So I was calorie counting. I was eating a low fat diet. Oh my God, I remember it was miserable. High carb diet. I wasn't eating enough protein. I would do so much cardio. So I was teaching aerobics at the time. That's one of the ways I got into this industry. And I remember on a Tuesday morning, I would teach Zumba, then legs, bumps and tums back in the day when that was a thing, and then spinning. And I was doing so much cardio and I just was not metabolically healthy. And one cheat meal, one meal out, one weekend would make me gain weight. And then I went a little bit on the other side where I did lose the weight, but I still didn't have that healthy metabolism. Now, after however many years of studying this, now I know that a higher protein, medium fat, low carb diet strength training, walking, managing my stress, and prioritizing sleep. So I eat what I consider, or what we call, the lean and clean lifestyle at least 90% of the time, and I absolutely love it. And now I sit somewhere around 14 to 16% body fat with optimized blood sugar, blood pressure, lipid profiles. And I always laugh when I jump on the scales. I only ever weigh myself at the doctor's, and I always laugh because I can pretty much pinpoint within a pound of how much I'm going to weigh. And this is not to brag. This is just to say I've been there and I've been through this journey myself. And with a lot of practitioners, our own journey often parallels what we're learning at the time. So I didn't come out looking like one of those Pilates girlies. It was a challenge for me. Now it's not a challenge for me because I've built those foundations and I've built that metabolic flexibility. And just as I say, if there's any questions about any of the science stuff, if there's any questions about my own journey, I'm always super, super honest and super open, because I just feel it's always helpful to know that someone else has been in that same situation as you. And just to say that I can do this for other people and just not myself. This is a quote from one of my amazing clients. I think she was 59 or 60 when she came to work with me. She lost her weight. She got incredible blood work. That's something that I love to see, is when we see that difference in the lab work. And so what I really want you to do is, before we jump into this, and whether you've worked with me for years, whether you're new to me, let's just take a second to envision our healthy selves. So you can do this with your eyes open. You can do this with your eyes closed. And I just want to take a second to find your why. So why are you here for this workshop? Why have you worked with me previously? Why might you want to work with me in the future? But really, why are you here? And what does sustainable weight loss mean to you? And what freedoms would it give you? So just take a second just to have a think about, okay, I think I could do this. Jenny might be the person that can help me do this. If I could do this, what would that look like for me in the future? What would that feel like when I got my lab work done? What would that feel like when I put my clothes on in the morning? What would that feel like when I got out of bed? What would that feel like when I saw my friends and they all said how glowing and energized and healthy I looked? So just take a second, because I think it's so easy for us to jump into the science of these things and the what, but we don't often take a chance to step into the why. And I think the why, that really is when things get tough, when you want to eat a McDonald's instead of a salad, your why is that anchor that will make things a little bit easier. And you absolutely don't have to, but if anyone wants to share their why in the chat box, then that would be absolutely wonderful. If you don't, I totally get it. It can be really, really personal. But if you have a why you want to get healthier, why you want sustainable weight loss, why you want to work on your metabolic health, I'd love for you to pop that in the chat box. That would be wonderful. Okay, so what are we going to be talking about today? Three main things that we're going to be talking about today. So I often say that weight loss is simple, but it's not necessarily easy. So when I say it's simple, this is what we're going to learn about today. We're going to understand that fad diets and intermittent fasting and tea cleanses and all of those things, they're not necessary or not effective for long-term weight loss. Long-term sustainable weight loss, boosting your metabolism, is simple, but it's not easy because of the society that we live in, because everything is set up for us to be convenient, to eat processed foods, and to not move our body. So that's why I say it's simple, but it's not easy. Today, we're going to be talking about why food is actually information to the body, not numbers. So does calorie counting count? Is it important? Yes. But actually, the type of food is more important than the amount of food that we eat. We're going to talk about the power of protein. Thank goodness this message is changing in the media these days. I remember working with a mentor of mine 13 years ago and talking about trying to get women to eat more protein. And finally, we're getting somewhere. And then we're going to talk about fitness, why we should I was obviously having a spicy moment when I wrote this slide. Why we should think about sexy strength training versus crappy cardio. So we'll get to all of those things. So I'm loving seeing some of these whys come in the chat box. Looking at energy and confidence to be stronger, addressing some health issues that come up. Wanting to understand how my body reacts to what I'm putting in my body. Yeah, there are some basic principles that can do all of us really, really great, get really, really great benefits, but there's no one size fits all when it comes to optimum health. Just turned 60, some chronic pain and arthritis issues. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. I know that's never easy, but I think it's just, yeah, osteoporosis and high cholesterol. So if it's helpful in any way whatsoever, a lot of you know that I work with a lot of women mid-40s upwards. My oldest client was 79, but I work with a lot of women in their 50s and 60s. And we do start to see things like osteoporosis, high cholesterol, chronic pain, inflammation. And what we're going to do today is we're touching on the basics. And someone reached out, I don't know whether they're on this call or not, someone reached out to me via Instagram and said, would it be suitable for postmenopause weight gain? And I said, well, we're not specifically talking about postmenopause weight gain, but the basics still count for those in perimenopause and postmenopause. So if you can get the basics right, so I work with I'm one of the experts on a menopausal health platform. And if we can really, and that deep, deep dive that I did into menopause weight loss when I was preparing for that role, really, if we do the basics right, it is 90% of menopause weight gain, 95% of menopause weight gain. So if you're in that category and struggling with some of those issues, today is especially for you as well. But thank you so much for sharing, everyone. Okay. Let's get to some good stuff. So reduce the ups and downs of weight gain, weight loss. Yeah, let's stop that. I was on a call with a client today and she's from Germany. And instead of a vicious cycle, they call it the devil's circle. And I thought that was brilliant. Like, let's stop that and let's really find that foundational metabolic health. I think that's so important. Okay. So calorie counting works until it doesn't. And if you've ever done a calorie counting diet or even a macro counting diet, to be real, they're the same thing. If you've ever done one of those diets and it worked and you lost 5, 10, 20 pounds, but then you put that weight back on again, please put yes in the chat box because I know I certainly have. So calorie counting works until it doesn't. And this is why. At a basic level, food is fuel. Yep. At a basic level, food is fuel. So we eat food and it gets used by our body to make energy it's used by our body. We eat food my goodness, we eat food and it gets used to make energy for our body. That would be wonderful. That would be absolutely wonderful if that was what happened. But in theory, if we eat less food, our body uses its stores for fat and muscle for fuel. So we cut down the amount of food that we're eating, our body then taps into its stored reserves, our body fat. This works until it doesn't. And this is why prolonged calorie restriction results in the following. And I have so many clients who come to me and they have done every diet under the sun. And a lot of them, cats are doing crazy things outside, and a lot of them have done really low calorie diets. So things like the Cambridge diet, which are like awful low calorie shakes or 800 calorie a day diets, and just awful, awful things. And what happens is this will lower the metabolism on a long-term basis, not necessarily a permanent basis, but on a long-term basis. So when we have prolonged calorie restriction, we get more hunger hormones. So the second that we drop our calories, we feel hungrier. We get lean muscle breakdown. This reduces our metabolic rate. We know that the more lean muscle mass we have, yeah, Master Cleanse, I had someone today do something called metabolic balance, which was a lie. We get lean muscle breakdown. We reduce our metabolic rate. When our lean muscle breaks down, that reduces our metabolism. It's the opposite of what we should be doing. We get a lowered thyroid output. So as we lower our energy intake, our body will lower its energy output. We're spinning our wheels. And then lowered thyroid output and then nutrient depletion. So we get low energy, low mood, sex drive, we get aging skin and thinning hair. So we don't want to be doing calorie counting. So a calorie intake, if we're going to take anything away from that slide, a calorie intake that is too low can stall or even cause weight gain. And this is in the short term and the long term as well. So I have a lot of clients who come to me who have lowered their metabolism from these restrictive diets. And I will never forget, I had a client come to me and she was on one of these crazy diets, and some of it was shakes and some of it was food. And when I say shakes, I don't mean like my breakfast smoothies. I mean literally the powdered things that are like 200 calories and gross. And she'd lost 20 pounds, amazing. But 10 pounds of those was lean muscle. And she was a 50-year-old woman. And that 10 pounds of lean muscle would have done so much better for her metabolism, for preventing osteoporosis, all of those things. So we really want to understand that calorie intake that's too low can stall or even cause weight gain in the long term and the short term. So what is the more sustainable approach? We want to think that food is information for the body. So whilst, yes, food is fuel, food is also information, and the types of food that we eat tell our hormones to do different things. So protein, fat, carbs. So if I say the word macros, we're thinking protein, we're thinking fat, we're thinking carbohydrates. Those are macronutrients. Micronutrients, vitamins and minerals. So when we eat protein, fat, and carbs, it tells our body what to do with that food, whether we want to store it as fat, which we don't want, or to use it as fuel, which we do want. On a very basic level, now I'm just using basic terminology, basic science here. But on the most basic level, here's what the 3 macronutrients tell our body to do. So when we eat protein, we build muscle and we burn body fat for fuel. Brilliant. That's exactly what we want. When we eat fat, it helps us burn our body fat for fuel. When we eat carbs or sugar, it switches on our fat storage. Now, again, very high level, but just to give you an idea of why we want to be thinking about increasing the amount of protein that we're having and reducing the amount of not complex carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates and added sugars as we go along. So what do we want to do? If weight loss is our goal. Now, when I'm saying weight loss, I'm thinking losing body fat and increasing lean muscle mass, but we're just using that term weight loss. If weight loss is our goal, we want to consume more protein and fat and eat less carbs and sugars. This is not me saying that carbohydrates are inherently bad. Complex carbohydrates can be fantastic for the body, but you have to be able to use those carbohydrates as fuel before we start to put them in the diet. So when we eat more protein, less carbs and added sugars, it encourages our body to burn stored body fat. This is the goal of healthy weight loss. It helps you build lean muscle tissue, which we know raises your metabolic rate. The more lean muscle mass you have, the higher your metabolism. And it increases your insulin sensitivity. This basically just means how well your body can use carbohydrates for fuel. So whenever I'm working with any of my clients on weight loss, I want to be thinking to increase their insulin sensitivity. So then eventually somewhere down the line, 8 to 10 weeks down the line, we can put carbohydrates back in again, and we know that they're going to use them as fuel rather than storing them as fat. Okay, so how do we do this in real life? Let's keep it simple. Keep your highly processed foods to a minimum. Think protein, veggies, and fat at every meal. We're going to avoid sugars and added sweeteners. Yes, this kills me when I see this when I see people talking about healthier sugars or healthy sugars. Nope, they're all sugars. They all do the same thing in the body. We want to avoid sugars and added sweetness, so things like maple syrup, honey, coconut nectar, and then minimize what I call deliberate carbs. So deliberate carbs are things that aren't vegetables that you have to add to your food. So think of things like cookies, cake, bread, pasta, rice, potatoes. You can see them on the plate as a separate carbohydrate. So what could this look like? And actually, as I take a breath and grab some water, does anyone have any questions up until that point? So I know some of this is familiar for some of you, some of it is new for some of you. So any questions up until this point? See, and luckily my internet is still Still staying on. Okay, so sweet potato, great, great question. So it depends if weight loss is your goal or not. So if you are looking to lose weight, then, oh, okay, so I'm going to put both of these questions in the same kind of category. So sweet potato, curious about airline rices like black rice. Both of these are great foods. So we're not demonizing these foods. Sweet potato is a little bit more fibrous. So sweet potato is something that I would say that if you are looking to lose weight, if you're looking to increase your insulin sensitivity, sweet potatoes 2 times a week, 3 times a week, absolutely fine, not an issue. Something like an heirloom rice, like black rice, much better option. I love black rice, it's delicious. Much better option than our white rice, but still pretty high in carbohydrates. So these type of food, sweet potato, these heirloom rices, I would put these in once you know that you're insulin sensitive. So once you have been, we call it the lean and clean formula, but once you've been lean and clean for 8 to 10 weeks, we then see how insulin sensitive you are. And then we start doing something called carb cycling, which we then put these carbohydrates in around your workouts. But I wouldn't have too many of them because it's not going to help the weight loss to start with. Asking some more questions. Could you do calorie restriction whilst optimizing for protein, veggies, and fats? Absolutely. So when I do any of my private coaching clients, or even with the Lean and Clean program, so Lean and Clean program is my program for lasting weight loss, there is some calorie restriction in there. So it's not that we are eating 3,000 calories a day on Lean and Clean. With Lean and Clean, I've taken all of those meals, I've done it all of the work behind the scenes, counted calories, counting macros, optimized for protein, veggies, and fats. So yes, so we do reduce, I'm going to say reduce calorie reduction. We do calorie reduction and optimize for protein, veggies, and fats. Because at the end of the day, if you overeat any calories, that will cause weight gain. But we can be really smart about where we spend our calories. So hopefully that answers your question. If appropriate, could you recommend a protein powder? Yes, there is a company called Equip that I love. If you ever, at the end, if we have time, I'll pop that in the chat box. But if you ever get any of my emails or you follow me on Instagram, I'm always linking to Equip. Thanks, Deb. Yes, we can't live without our Equip protein. So let's kind of come up with a typical day that a client might come to me with. So for breakfast, they might be having overnight oats with maple syrup. They might be having a chicken sandwich with chips and a Coke for lunch. Or they might even be having something like a coconut water or something instead of a Coke. You know, those healthy options still have a ton of sugar. For snack, they might be doing a kind bar. And for dinner, maybe a pasta with tomato sauce. After breakfast, if I'm going to do a transition of this, so moving that diet to a more higher protein, lower added sugar, we might do something like a chia pudding with protein powder, nuts, and fresh berries. For lunch, we might do something like a chicken and avocado salad with olive oil and lemon dressing. For a snack, we might do something like apple and almond butter. And then dinner, we might do something like zucchini noodles with tomato sauce and ground beef. I eat this way all of the time. This is very similar to what the Lean and Clean program looks like. And it can be really, really simple, as I say. I'm not going to talk about calorie count because I don't think that's necessarily helpful in terms of this conversation. And that is something that I do work on with Lean and Clean and with my private coaching clients as well. My take on cheat days, I actually like to call these treat meals. So a cheat day for me makes me think of just eating junk from sunrise to sunset. What I'd rather do is have a treat meal, which might be something a little bit more luxurious to you. So it might be something like grass-fed steak, sweet potato fries, good great glass of red wine, dark chocolate, that kind of thing. So treat meal, we want foods that still treat and nourish our body. We keep it to one meal. I would rather do a treat meal than cheat days. I hope that makes sense. But great questions coming in. So how this works, this was Lauren, 52. She was one of my clients, not last year, the year before. She was really struggling. She was struggling with that menopausal weight gain. She was trying all of her old tricks. So, all of those things that made us lose weight in our early 20s. And she got really, really great results with Lean and Clean. She was the perfect fit for it. So this does work in real life. We've been running the Lean and Clean program since 2014, maybe 2015. So we have lots and lots of, it's based in science, but we have a lot of evidence that it works in real life as well. So a quick recap on what we've talked about. Calorie and macro counting can slow down weight loss if you're not doing it right. Everything that you eat tells the body whether to make more body fat or burn your stores for fuel. Basically, food is information for the body. Sugar and carbs are going to make you store fat. Protein, fiber, and fat, so that's protein, veggies, fruits, and fat, are going to switch on fat burning. We want to eliminate our added sugars and caloric sweeteners. Remember, caloric sweeteners are still things like honey, maple syrup, coconut sugar. Minimize our deliberate carbs, our rice, our potatoes, our cookies, our biscuits, our pastas. And we want to be making sure that our meals consist of protein, veggies, and healthy fats at every meal. Any more questions before I move on? I'm glad the internet is holding up. But what do I think of lower fat for postmenopausal women? As in lower fat content in the diet? Is that what you're asking? I'm going to answer it if it's that. Yes, and I've never said I don't do a high fat diet. Most of my generalized recommendations for weight loss at any age are medium fat, not high fat. We might want to think, depending on our cholesterol levels, depending on our lipid panel, what type of fats those are. But I don't think we should be doing lower fat. I think fat can be one of the macros that can be manipulated. So if we're finding that we're not getting the weight loss that we want, then we could look at minimizing fat. But I would go lower fat, not low fat. We want to make sure that we're having some fat in every meal. Is oatmeal a no? Yep, oatmeal is if you are not at your goal metabolism, your goal insulin sensitivity, then oatmeal is a no, because it's very high in carbohydrates and very low in protein. If you are insulin sensitive and you're at your goal and you want to maintain that, then oatmeal can be something that we can add in post-training, but only once you are insulin sensitive. Great questions, guys. Okay, so we have talked about food being information, not numbers. We're now going to talk about the power of protein. And as I say, I think it's been about at least 9-10 years that we've been banging on about this. And it's finally getting its light in kind of mainstream media. So why is protein the key for everything? Protein is our most satiating nutrient. So it keeps our hunger hormones at bay. And what it does is it keeps us feeling full. It tells our brain that we've eaten and tells us not to be hungry. The body will keep searching for food until its protein needs are met. So if you've ever had a day where you've just been eating a ton, but you're still hungry, you probably haven't had enough protein. Protein does not raise blood sugar levels, and again, it tells our body to use stored body fat for fuel. Protein is key for building lean muscle mass, which is key for higher metabolism. It's also necessary for our mental health, our mood, our cognitive function, our immune system, our gut health, our bone health, and healthy hair, skin, and nails. So I work a lot in beauty nutrition. And one of the main things there, and I just recorded a whole podcast of Mind Body Green about the importance of protein for healthy skin. The majority of Americans do not eat enough protein. And there are so many protein myths out there, but there is no safe upper limit for protein. So you don't have to worry about the amount of protein that you eat, apart from the fact that you want to be eating more, if that makes sense. And I'll come to any other questions that aren't about protein in a second. So how much protein do we want to do? We want to keep it simple. I get so many messages about calculating protein grams. And really, unless you are a bodybuilder or an athlete, you don't need to be thinking about calculating your protein grams. Most people are trying to start at step 10 and they haven't got step 3 done. So let's think about something that's maybe step 5, which is instead having a good serving of protein at every meal. So when I say a good serving of protein, we're looking for around 30 grams. Now, the most important meal for protein intake is breakfast. So this is one of the reasons why I'm against long-term intermittent fasting. We want to be thinking about for long-term weight loss and a healthy metabolism. The studies show we aim for 30 grams of protein within 2 to 3 hours of waking up. Intermittent fasting for women can be done sometimes. You are better off long-term eating a protein-rich breakfast. And so with this, most women should be aiming for around 100 to 120 grams of protein a day. If you are much smaller, and I'm 5'2" and I weigh 112 pounds, I eat at least 120 grams of protein a day. If you are a normal height, so you're taller than myself, and you're very active, you're doing a lot of strength training, maybe you want to be aiming for more protein, but a minimum of 100 to 120 grams of protein a day. So what could this, oh, my slideshow now doesn't want to work. Okay, so quick and easy protein sources. So yeah, I think we all know that we should be eating more protein. How do we get this in? So in the pantry, you might want to have things like canned fish, wild-caught salmon, tuna, mackerel. Bone broth is a really great one. My husband and I both had COVID in November. We really weren't hungry at all, but we made sure we have some bone broth to get our protein in. Great quality protein powder, hemp seeds on everything, especially if you eat a plant-based diet. Hemp seeds are your best friend. In the fridge, we might have some clean deli meats, smoked salmon. I never cook one serving of anything, so I've always got some grab-and-go proteins in the fridge. Rotisserie chicken, we buy ours from Whole Foods. Hard-boiled eggs, ready-cooked chickpeas, lentils, quinoa, tofu, and hummus. And then freezer, I always have things like ground beef, ground turkey, really easy, nice things in there. So I'm just going to go to this side. So this is Kate, and she was finding it really, like, she was really overthinking things, and she didn't want to feel like she was following a diet. So she ate the lean and clean way. She did the lean and clean program. She dropped body fat, but she also felt a little bit more relaxed around food, which food freedom is something that we really, really aim for in lean and clean as well. Food freedom doesn't mean that you can eat whatever you want and not gain weight. Goodness me, I wish that was a thing. But it really stops us from overthinking, calculating, etc., etc. So I'm going to jump in and answer some of these questions. Actually, let me just do a recap, and then I'll jump in and answer the questions. So protein is the most important macronutrient for fat loss. Protein is the most important macronutrient for muscle building. Protein, I'm really hammering home the point here. Protein is the most important macronutrient for balancing blood sugar and beating cravings. And adding a healthy size portion of protein to every meal is super important. So really what we need to know is that protein switches our body into fat burning mode. Okay, let me grab some water. Okay, do I think complex carbs should be consumed at the dinner meal? So I think we're talking about in terms of we're adding carbohydrates into our meals, when is the best time to put them in? And we talk about this in the last lesson of Lean and Clean. So how do we put carbohydrates back into our diet so we can get all of the benefits but not gain weight? The first time we should put carbohydrates back in is after our workout. And we do this because during our strength training workouts, I'm going to talk about this in a second, what happens when we strength train, it pulls glycogen, stored glucose, out of our muscles and uses it for fuel. So post-training, we're more insulin sensitive and we can eat our carbohydrates, and then our body is more likely to use them for fuel rather than storing them as fat. So if we're adding carbs back into our diet, place number 1 is post-workout. Place number 2 can be in the evening meal. And the reason why I say that is that carbs can actually help with some of our calming neurotransmitters. So if we're nice and insulin sensitive, we can put carbohydrates around our workouts and then in the evening meals as well. But again, you've got to get to that point before we can add those back in and not have it affect our metabolism. Isn't quinoa high carb? It is higher in carb, So I would have it as part of my lean and clean if I ate animals and fish. If I was vegan, then I would make sure that I have quinoa in my diet because it has a lot of protein in it. So one of the challenges with vegan diets is that all of our plant proteins come wrapped up in carbohydrates. So example, for quinoa. So if I was me and I eat everything, I might have quinoa once a week with a like chicken salad. Like a chicken I think we've got a recipe in Lean and Clean that's like a Mediterranean quinoa salad. And so it's got like chicken and quinoa and olives and sun-dried tomatoes. If I was vegan, I would make sure that I have quinoa a couple of times a week because it's a really great source of plant-based amino acids. How many hours before bed should we stop eating, or is that a myth? That is not a myth. Ideally, 2 to 3 hours before bed, 2 to 3 hours before we go to sleep, we should stop eating. That's not, yes, it's going to help with blood sugar balance, but it's also really important for digestion as well. What about quinoa flakes? I like quinoa flakes as an alternative to oatmeal. It's something that I have once or twice a week. What's the difference between quinoa and quinoa flakes? I have no idea how they make quinoa flakes. Quinoa flakes are slightly lower in carbs than quinoa. How they make those, I don't know. But what I really want, just a point with this is think about the 98%, not the 2%. So quinoa is not the issue. Quinoa or quinoa flakes is not the issue. Making sure that we're minimizing our processed food, we're minimizing our added sugar, we're getting our protein in, we're getting our veggies in. 98% of this is the basics done well. But I will have to find out how they make quinoa flakes because I have no idea. But quinoa and quinoa flakes are very different when you cook them. So what else do we still have to talk about? Sexy strength training versus crappy cardio. You know what? About every 6 months, I try and make myself start running again because I feel like I should. And I do it once and I hate it. And then I go back to the research and I realize that cardio is not the best one. Now, I'm not saying that if you love running and you love doing cardio, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying if you hate doing cardio, and there are different types of cardio that we'll look at, if you hate doing cardio, don't make yourself do it because you think that you should do. So my body completely changed when I started doing strength training. I will say that my strength training journey started at the same time that I was dating my husband. If some of you guys know, my husband's a professor of exercise science and a strength and conditioning trainer. And we met where I was teaching aerobics back in the day when I was teaching Zumba. And he was the one that really introduced me to strength training. And, you know, however many years on now, 12 and a half years on now, I'm still strength training and we're married. So that's my story behind strength training. But we love strength training in Lean and Clean because it builds the body up. Cardio breaks it down. Now, again, very simplistic, but strength training is anabolic to the body. It builds us up. Cardio is catabolic to the body. It builds us down. It breaks us down. But cardio is not breaking down fat cells. It's breaking down lean muscle tissue. And that's not what we want. So cardio can slow down our weight loss goals rather than speed them up. So conversely, when we build our lean muscle tissue via strength training, so we have to have strength training and protein, this builds that lean muscle tissue and it gives us two incredible weight loss and metabolism boosting benefits. So really think about this. Strength training helps with weight loss in the short term and the long term. So it builds lean muscle tissue, which helps our body burn more fat and boosts our metabolism. So as I'm standing here talking to you, the more lean muscle mass I have, the more calories I would burn at rest. Now, on a short-term basis, it pulls sugar and glucose out of the blood for fuel, meaning we're less likely to store it as fat and making ourselves more insulin sensitive. So this is what I say is that when we've reached our desired weight, blood sugar balance, insulin sensitivity, then we can start putting carbohydrates in around our workout because that's when we are insulin sensitive. And again, if you have questions as we're going through all of this stuff, please let me know. So what counts as strength training? Let me answer a couple of questions that I normally hear. Is bar strength training? No. Is mat Pilates strength training? No. Is reformer Pilates strength training? Yes, if it's a really good Pilates reformer class, and mostly on a mega former rather than a reformer. So yoga is not strength training. Bar is not strength training. Strength training can be body weight, resistance bands, even reformer Pilates. But when I say this, we don't want to fear the weight section of the gym or the weights at home. So we do think sometimes that strength training can make us bulky. Women are not going to get bulky from strength training because we simply do not have the hormonal makeup. So if you see bulky women, if you see something like, I'm trying to think like the CrossFit Games or something, it's really hard for women to get to, and there's probably been some other intervention in there. A well-designed strength workout will target specific muscle groups to create a toned feminine physique. Now, this is one of the reasons why I'm against classes like Barry's or, a lot of the strength training workouts out there, because they don't think about strength training for a female body. And now both Tim and I have worked with, have mentored under incredible strength trainers. And when I think about our mentorships, the experts that taught us would always say to us, we had to explain everything that went into a workout. So if we had an exercise, a rep range, a rest period, we had to explain why. So when I see these crazy workouts in Barry's or online or things, I know that that trainer cannot say why they programmed those things, because every exercise, muscle group, rest period, set, rep range has a physiological effect on the body. And when we choose the right type of exercises and the right muscle groups to target, it can actually balance out a female body and make you look leaner, as opposed to if you're always doing spinning and ab work, which can actually cause imbalances in the body. So we want to think big muscle groups: squats, lunges, rows, assisted pull-ups, chest press, push-ups. Think big muscle groups, bang for your buck. So use full body movements for maximum results, because these muscles burn more fuel, and skip abs and arms day. So 2 to 3 to 4 times a week in the gym, and you should be in and out of the gym in under an hour. No, unless you love being in the gym, no one needs to be in the gym for longer than that. And I really get, at the moment, I'm doing my weights workouts at home and I'm done in 35 to 40 minutes. What are my thoughts on strength plus HIIT workouts? I don't love a combination workout. And here's why. Because we want to make the main thing the main thing. So if I'm doing one of these combo classes and it's like you do a little bit of strength training and then you do a HIIT workout, and then you do a little bit of strength training and a HIIT workout, you're not maximizing either of those things. So with strength training, we want to focus on our strength training. We want to use all of our energy for strength training. We want to be lifting to failure, so it should feel heavy. That's what we should be doing with our strength training. Then at the end of it, we can do some HIIT workout, we can do some walking on the treadmill, we can do some rowing, whatever. But if we're going strength, HIIT, we're not getting the most out of the strength, and we're not getting the most out of the HIIT workouts. And also, just a note about HIIT workouts, this term has been bastardized. You can tell I get quite passionate about this. This term has been bastardized in the fitness industry. And just because a workout is fast or hard doesn't mean it's a HIIT workout. So everything that I recommend to my private coaching clients in my Lean and Clean program has a reason behind it, and it has a physiological response in the body. So we plan the nutrition plans as they are because they create a specific response in the body. We plan the workouts in the way they are because they create a specific response in the body. And HIIT workouts should be within specific parameters, like 30 seconds on, 10 seconds off. I'm just making that up, to hit a certain parameter. An intense, hard, sweaty workout does not necessarily make it effective. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox then. And this is my friend Amber. She's one of the editors at New Beauty magazine, who I do a lot of work with. And and she also has a podcast that I'm on regularly. I'm recording with her tomorrow. So she lives in New York. She used to be a cardio bunny. She used to do a ton of cardio classes, but she hated it. She switched, she starts doing strength training. She's just using her Peloton app and the weights she's got at home, and it completely changed her body. So it's really, really important to, if you like cardio, great, but keep the main thing, and your strength training should be the main thing. So too much steady state cardio can slow down weight loss. Strength training boosts fat burning over the short term and the long term. Strength train 3 to 4 times a week. No one needs to be in there for longer than an hour. I'm probably going to make that say no longer than 50 minutes. And focus on your big muscle groups for the quickest results. And that's not just in terms of like, I'm going to do squats to work my glutes. It's, I'm going to do squats to work my glutes to put the more lean muscle mass on and to burn more fat. So hopefully that made sense. Before I move on to some food diary reviews, any more questions? So zone 2 cardio is just mainly moving and keep moving. Yeah, so really what I'm saying with this is we need to use the right tool for the right job. So if we want to be metabolically flexible, we want to lose weight and keep it off, we don't want to be bouncing around. We want to focus on strength training, we want to do walking, and then we can add some HIIT training in there. What we forget about is another part of this, which is just being a human being moving in the world. And this is where zone 2 cardio can come in. So really plug these things in. So strength training comes first. Then we can do some HIIT training. We want to make sure that we are walking 5,000 to 10,000 steps a day. Then we can add some zone 2 cardio in there. But strength training, honestly, the two things that I would focus on, strength training and walking. Do I do heavy weight training? Yes, I do. I absolutely do heavy weight training. When I'm talking weight training, I'm not talking dumbbells. I'm not talking lunges with 5-pound dumbbells. I'm talking lunges with 20, 25-pound dumbbells. And that's just because I'm working out at home. Walking with a weighted vest, you guys know I love my walks with a weighted vest. This is not strength training. That's just me trying to make the absolute most of going out for a walk. And I started doing the walking with a weighted vest. It's also called rucking during COVID, because I was like, I'm losing my bone density. But walking with a weighted vest is just a really great way to maximize your walk, but it doesn't count as strength training. But what you can do is use your weighted vest to do strength training at home. So if I'm working out at home and I need to add more weight and my arms can't carry it because I've got teeny tiny hands, I'll put my weighted vest on, I'll hold my dumbbells, and it makes my workout heavier. Great questions. But yeah, I absolutely do heavy weight training. I personally, my favorite workout is strongman training, which is being in the gym, and it's things like deadlifts and rope slams and pulling sleds, and that's actually my absolute favorite way to train. Okay, so let's take a quick look at some food diaries. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. So actually what I might do, let's go to this one. Actually, maybe we'll go back to Brandy's. So Brandy, if you look at her food diary, and this is where a lot of people come to me, if you look at her food diary, it's not bad at all. She's certainly not eating junk food. But what we were finding with someone like Brandy was that she wasn't having enough protein at every meal. And she was having some things that were sneaking in that were a little bit higher in sugar. So things like she was snacking on Kind bars, or, and I was trying to remember her as a client, but really the main thing that we did for Brandy was actually had her eat more protein. That was really the only change that we did. She felt less hungry. She wasn't snacking on Kind bars. So we don't necessarily have to start from scratch to make great changes. And the same here. We were having a little bit too many carbs and not enough protein. And you can just see somewhere where, you know, we had a Greek platter with some salad, with some brown rice, but there was no protein in there. breakfast with some egg white bites, but really if you're having, let's say 3 egg white bites, that's probably 12 grams of protein. So really, again, we looked at doing this, adding in the protein and then bringing down the sugar, and those two things really go hand in hand. So where did we get to? We've talked about a lot tonight, and my PowerPoint is going to go slow. Okay, so far, everything that we have covered are why we should minimize added fats and deliberate carbs, which foods turn on fat building, which foods turn on fat burning, why protein is the key to balancing blood sugar, stopping cravings, and boosting your metabolism, quick and easy protein sources, why cardio slows down weight loss, why strength training is the best way to work out for fat loss and raising your metabolism, the best types of exercises to do in the gym, and how to improve a food diary for weight loss success. So before we move on, my PowerPoint doesn't want to know. So as I say, you'll be sent an email tomorrow morning with the replay. If you're watching the replay right now and you have questions, it says put them in the comments box, email those to me, jenny@jenniferhanway.com, and I will be sure to answer them. So let's just go back to that healthy self, and you've seen some of the testimonials from some of my clients so far. Just take a second, think about the 3 things that we've talked about tonight. So we've talked about food as information to the body, we've talked about the power of protein, and we've talked about strength training. And think about, let's say we are 8 weeks down the line, because that's all I need is 8 weeks down the line, and what your testimonial might say. And you can share that in the chat box. You can keep it to yourself. But I just need 8 weeks and we can get that metabolism kicking. All right, before I move on, does anybody have any other questions that we haven't answered so far? Okay, so if there are no other questions, I just want to, what do I mean when I said medium fats? Medium, so when we're doing lean and clean, 1 to 2 servings of fat at every meal. This looks like, so 1 serving of fat is about a tablespoon of fat. So that's olive oil, that could be nuts and seeds, or 1/4 of an avocado. And 1 to 2 of those at every meal, depending on how hungry you are and your energy needs. I'm certainly not a fan of ketogenic diets. So I'm not a fan of high fat diets, but I'm not a fan of low fat diets either. So what I do want to introduce you to, and some of you are very familiar with Lean and Clean, but even if you are already in Lean and Clean, stay tuned because we have some changes to the Lean and Clean program as well. We've made some revamps for 2024. So I call Lean and Clean the weight loss program the last weight loss program you will ever need, because it is designed to boost your metabolism in that lasting way. It's designed around these sustainable weight loss programs. And what do you get in Lean and Clean? So you have lifetime access, by the way, for Lean and Clean. So with Lean and Clean, this is my lasting weight loss program. You get 10 weeks of fat burning meal plans. You get 2 months of metabolism boosting workouts, and we have guides to eating out, cycle syncing, menopause, travel, all of those things. Now, right now, we also have, with Lean and Clean, there's 3 different types of program, let's say 2 different types of program, the core access and the premium access. Right now, anyone who joins Lean and Clean from now gets access to the 3-month Lean and Clean premium community. They get a Kickstarter call with me, so you get 30 minutes with me. You get a personalized action plan designed by me. We do 3 monthly live, so we do a Zoom call every month for 3 months. We do 3 live masterclasses, and then there is a private Lean and Clean podcast, and then we're also doing in-person meetups as well. So we're really giving you everything with this new Lean and Clean program. Now, if you're already in Lean and Clean program, you'll have all of that stuff for life anyway. And if you want everything that is in that box, then you have the Fresh Start plan. So that is the option for you as well, because we want everyone to get everything out of it. So with the 8 weeks of fat, well, actually 10 weeks of fat burning meal plans. So we have a 2-week kickstart and we have an 8-week metabolic reset. You get the fat burning meal plans, meal prep guides, grocery lists, discount, and then there is now a community for real-time support and feedback. We have our metabolism boosting workouts. So I know I've talked a lot about rep ranges and tempo and all of that things. We do all of that work for you via a really easy to use app. And all of those are any type of fitness level. And I do all of my workouts, well, the majority of my workouts at home now. So all of the lean and clean workouts, they're suitable for body weight, they're suitable for in the gym, they're suitable for at home, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So right now, the pay in full special, it's normally $997 for all of those things. Right now, $697, you pay that once and you get all of these things for life. We also have a payment plan because let's be real, January, so we want to make that easy for you. And that's just what those things look like. So if lean and clean is something that you've been looking at for a while and you think, I want to do that, but that one-time payment doesn't feel right for me, you can do a one-time pay. You can start today for $267, and that's just 3 installments. Or if you're someone who's like, yep, this is absolutely the right time, the best value, you save a little bit of money, is that one-time payment. And just to let you know, so for January, and this ends on January, oh, I moved my slide around. This ends on January, I think it's the 21st. You get the premium access for Lean and Clean for the cost of the core access. So you get some private coaching with me. We do a 30-minute Kickstarter call. I'll then make a little 14-day action plan for you. So you go away from that call knowing exactly what you need to do for weight loss success. With the premium access, and this is also for my people who are in Lean and Clean, if you've seen those emails about the Fresh Start package, we'll do a monthly live Zoom Q&A. We'll do a monthly live masterclass. The first one's on goals. So January's masterclass is goal setting. February's masterclass is menopause. There is a private Lean and Clean podcast, and we're also going to do some in-person meetups in the UK and the US as well. And then also in Lean and Clean, we've got the fat burning supplements guide, the guide for sleep and stress, perimenopause and postmenopause, living the lean and clean lifestyle, all of those wonderful things. And then there's a community in there. So I think we've got 34 people in there at the moment who are on the lean and clean journey, and they can really help as well. And because we wanted to make it work for you, if you don't find Lean and Clean helpful, then you will get a full refund after 7 days. And we really want to say that Lean and Clean really is that last weight loss program you will ever need. So I'm just putting the link for my website, I can't even do that, my brain's not working, in the chat box. So if Lean and Clean is something that you are interested in, now is the absolute perfect time. If you have any questions about Lean and Clean, you can always reach out to me. My direct email is jenny@jenniferhanway.com. That's just me, I only answer those emails. But yes, that's everything that I wanted to say today. I still have plenty of time for Q&A if anyone has questions. So if you have any questions about anything that we've chatted about today, any questions about Lean and Clean, or any questions that you'd like to pick my brain on, feel free to either take yourself off mute and ask me there, or pop them in the chat box.
Jenny, this is Deborah Demore. I have a quick question.
Hey, Dan.
I'm in the Lean and Clean, but then you mentioned something about the Fresh Start plan. What
Yes.
would that entail? Because I think
so
the biggest access thing I need is also the 2 months of the workouts. So what's that process?
So for you, I'm just trying to find the link for it. You'd think I'd be nice and organized, but you guys know that
No, please don't worry. No worries at all, because I'm asking.
So you would have had an email about it. So the Fresh Start package is really for someone like you who's been in the program before, who's been on the program, who's been off the program. But really what we're doing, let me see if I can get back to here.
I did join the new website. I did that piece, but is it something different Oh, there it is.
Yes. Yeah. Well, all we've done with the new website, let's see if I can get back in. Here we go.
Okay.
All we've
Great.
done is we've moved to a different hosting platform so we can have more of a community feel.
Yeah, I like it so far. Yes.
So we haven't even really started using, so there's those message boards. We haven't even really started. We're just getting everybody on board with a new program. Now, with the Fresh Start package, that's designed for exactly for someone like you, and you have all of the new resources in there. So you and I would do a 30-minute Kickstarter call. I would make that action plan for you. You would get the new Q&As, the masterclasses, and the podcast. And then you'd also get 3 months of workouts and 3 months of meal plans.
Got it. Okay, great.
So that is, I'll pop that
Yeah,
back.
I got it. Yeah, and I found the website. So thank you.
That
That was very helpful.
between the two of us,
I know I don't recall. I don't recall seeing it in the emails, but I may have gotten it, just missed it. So thank you.
It's been, it's one of those things about sending emails out at the beginning of the year is like,
and I try to read all of your emails.
a million and one emails. January is January.
Thank you. That's perfect.
Of course. Does anyone else have any other questions?
Hi, Jenny. It's Cornelia. How you doing?
Hi, Cornelia.
I did sign up for the Fresh Start and everything like that. So are we going to when do the exercises start via emails? Or does or is it, when does the start of the exercise?
I got you. Yeah, I got you. When do we restart the True Coach thing is what you're talking about. Yeah. So I did send you an email to see if you wanted to be started from the beginning.
Oh, okay.
But what I can do, you can tell me that now, and then that will start from a Monday.
Okay, so we decided on doing the dumbbells. So that's the dumbbell program. And yes, we can do it Monday.
I will say that I will remember, but you guys know that it's about an hour before my bedtime. So can you just send me an email to remind me that, Cornelia?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. And in answer to your question, no, we won't be. The Facebook group will be archived, so you can still look in there, but we'll be active in the platform.
Oh, so you're going to do it in school instead
of... It will
be
in school. Yeah, it's just so it's all in one place.
Okay, that's good to know.
You got it. Are the workouts adaptable? What I would say, Laura, is the workouts are adaptable, but what might be beneficial for you is reach out to me by email. We can have a little bit more of a conversation about this, because what we can do is we want to make sure that the workouts are really safe and effective for you. So what we can do is, with the workouts, email me, let me know about what's good for you, what isn't good for you, and I'm sure we can find some way of working around it, whether we even just do one private session to make sure that they're good for you. But I always want to make sure everyone is safe and effective. So, long answer to your question, send me an email. Laura, my email is jenny@jenniferhanway.com, and we'll definitely figure something out for you. Loretta says, I will send you an email with all of the questions. Loretta sent me an email with all of the questions. Christina, no, the WhatsApp group will not still be active. That's now taking place in school. So you will have had an email for that. If you can't find the school email, if anyone is in Lean and Clean and they can't find it, just look for school, and it may have gone to your junk mail. But we're just moving any chat functions and any community functions into school, because it's just a lot easier for people to use. I'm so glad someone else goes to bed early. I am right now talking to you guys, being active, lights, screens, all of the things. I'm going to struggle to sleep. A lot of you know me really well, but New Year's Eve, we did a deep clean of the house. I had chicken salad for dinner and I was in bed asleep by 8:45. So awesome. All right, everyone. Anyone else got any more questions before we finish up for the evening? And any questions that you want to ask me that are not on a Zoom call with strangers, just make sure you email me. Is School an app? No, School is an online platform. So it's very similar to Kajabi. Laura, so it's actually even easier to use than Kajabi. So it's not an app. I'm not asking you to download any more apps. It's just a website. You are so welcome, Laura. Laura and Laura. Laura McCann, I thought of you the other day because I think I was in your building in Wellesley Hills. I think I saw your name on that. All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining me as usual. Thank you for understanding that I'm much better with bodies than technology. Any questions, shoot me an email. If you email me tonight, I probably won't answer them, but I probably will answer them at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. Cynthia, you're so welcome. And enjoy the rest of your evening. Have some water and go to bed. Larissa, do I have a plan for the Boston meetup? Not yet. As soon as I do, I will let you know. But we can make that kind of flexible for people. Susan, you are so welcome. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jenny. Take care.
Bye. Good night, Leah. Good night. Good night,
night.
everyone. Good night.
Thank you.
You're welcome.